So, my Lord, I've been putting a lot of thought into Stephen's death, and the significance of the timing of the whole thing. And you know what? I think it's safe to say I'm more touched by his death than I thought I would be. And I think I have good reason to be, It didn't dawn on me about how profound of an intimate experience that he and I shared all those years ago until yesterday. It dawned on me. Just how impactful that really was. It's amazing. I mean, it just goes to show just how impactful a seemingly minor how significant a seemingly insignificant person in my life could have such a profound impact. What, 30 years later? Because the more that I think about the chain of predication that led up to his death, while maintaining point A as being that experience in the mall together. How big of an impact it has on today. And the depth of that impact, I mean, it's still formulating itself in my mind because Hey. Because knowing that he died, finding out that he died, kind of it broke me out of some shackle that I've been holding on to. For the sake of overcoming this fear within me that anyone could overpower me. How you doing, man?
What's up?
How you doing?
Alright, how you doing?
Doing good. Doing great.
There you go.
Hell yeah. Why? That's because Steven was like this force that he may not have known it, but I actually looked up to his perseverance, you know, because of that experience. I don't know ultimately what kind of impact that had on his life. I have a feeling that it had a bigger impact than probably even his family and close friends know about. I don't know if he ever told anybody about that experience. Because for me, that was the first time I ever saw something like that. That was the only time I ever saw something like that. Firsthand, you know? I mean, he took the beating. He took a beating from that dude. And then he asked for seconds. He literally embodied that principle of Rabbi Jesus. When someone strikes you on the cheek, turn to them the other one and ask for seconds. And he fucking did it. A guy kicked him in the face 3 or 4 times, kicking his head into a wall. And the guy said, "Do you want me to suck your dick again?" And Steven told him to go fuck himself. So the guy kicked him again. And he didn't fight back. And that's not a. I don't recognize that as him being a pussy. Not in the fucking least. I think more so, at least for me, that was Steven demonstrating this is how you fucking deal with motherfuckers like this. Because that was hard as fuck. And the strange thing is, like, I was just thinking recently about how I haven't seen a post from Steven in so long. So when I went to his Facebook page and I started scrolling through it, I was seeing a lot of people posting on his page, especially his mom and his sister, I suppose. And I traced it all the way back to last August, where I saw the last post he wrote, which was the day before he died. And I remember that. I remember seeing that post and thinking to myself, oh, well, he seems like he's in a better place than what he was the last time I talked to him. Because he had reached out to me a couple times over the past 3 years. And we got to talk. And I remember the first time that we talked, like, he was in bad shape. He was in a bad way. I only know that because he told me. He was telling me about the fractured relationship with his son, his struggle with drugs. I think he said crack. And I remember thinking, like, I didn't like the energy coming off of this dude when I was talking to him. And there was a part of me that didn't want to talk to him at all. But not that I did it out of obligation, but there was a sense in me that he needed somebody and that I was providing that somebody for him to at least let go of some shit to. So for that, I'm fucking honored. But what I noticed kept on happening was, I mean, granted, over the last 4 years, we only talked like maybe 3 times. But every time he reached out to me, it would always flash me back to that time in the mall. Because it got me wondering, like, it got me questioning myself, because it's like, now if the roles were reversed, would I have done the same thing? Would I have taken it like he did? Or would I have fucking cried like a little girl because I got my fucking face kicked in? Nah, but this dude, he fucking told the guy to give him seconds. And it got me on this long thing yesterday where I started thinking about how, because I didn't stand up for him, like, how different would his life have played out if I had his back instead of just sitting there watching. But then when we apply actual big boy logic to it, we have to recognize that he literally did ask for it. And he was provided with that which he asked for. But if we go for a deeper understanding of why that had to happen exactly the way that it did, it requires us to utilize the logic of the line BAB, where point B, represents that for the sake of which. And if point A is designated to that time in the mall, I mean, we were 15 at the time, yeah? We were fucking kids. But he literally got assaulted by an employee of the Sombrero pizza place. So I'm assuming nothing really transpired out of that. Because I never heard about his family suing Sombrero. Even though I'm sure they fucking could have. Because it wasn't just some random dude that just came up to us and started kicking him in the face. We were 15 years old. hanging out in the Ocean County Mall. He might have been 14 because Steven was a year younger than me. He was a little bit younger than my sister. We were hanging out in the food court of the Ocean County Mall, and we were sitting underneath the wall-mounted water fountain, which is still there. We just didn't give a fuck. That was the thing. We didn't give a fuck. We might have even been high, for all I remember. It's not impossible because, for one reason or another, all of the memories prior to that and what comes out of it are all gone. I don't know. I don't remember what happened. But one of the employees from Sabrera, it's a fucking kid. He had to be like no more than 18. He came over to us and he told us to move. And Steven told him to suck his dick. Suck my dick. And the guy said, "You want me to suck your dick?" And Steven's like, "Yeah, suck my dick." The guy started fucking stomping him. He was stomping in his face at Steven's head. It hit the tile wall behind him a couple times. But I think the dude hit him like maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And then he looks at him and he goes, "You want me to suck your dick again?" And Steven said, "Yeah, suck my dick." And the dude fucking kicked him again. He started stomping him again. But he didn't fight back. And you know, when he came back into my life, when he popped up on my Facebook, and he said, "Hey, Buttercup." I remember thinking, "Oh, this dude, this nigga's still alive." But
yeah, I'm leaving for work around 2:30. I don't know if I'm gonna stay there.
But even over the course of our years, from like 1994, 1995, up until 2018, I mean, we bumped into each other a couple times. But every time I would see him, I would always think of that fucking moment. And is this like my eulogy to Steven? You know what's interesting is he had invited me to come hang out with him on a couple like family friend expeditions, paintball and kayaking. How you doing?
Hi.
And but I didn't go. I couldn't go. I had other life stuff I had to deal with. But in the back of my mind, I always had this thought. I'm like, yo, this dude needs to take me out. He wants to take me out. That's what this is all about. He wants to take me out so that story dies with me. Because God forbid anybody find out. I mean, in my mind, I'm playing the scenarios playing out in my head. I don't know how true to life this was, but the scenario playing out in my head at the time was that obviously Steven remembered this experience. And remembering that only I and the assaulter were the only two people, as far as I'm aware, who were physically present at the time. So in my head, I'm thinking to myself, like, because he's telling me about how his relationship with his son was like shit. How his son had absolutely no respect for him whatsoever. And I think even more than once, Steven had referred to himself as a piece of shit. And I seriously, I fell for this dude. Because I know his brother and I go back even further than me and him. I knew Steven when I was 15, but I'd known his brother since the 3rd grade. His brother was one of the first friends I made. Because in 3rd grade is when I transferred schools. And his brother Keith, everybody knew Keith. At least in our grade range. And I think even grades above too. But he was always cool with me. I used to sleep over their house and shit. And that's how I met Steven. Because I remember I slept over his house one day and he was telling me about his brother they had different fathers. But for one reason or another, I don't know. But Steven had been living with his father in Florida and was coming back to New Jersey to live with the mother and Keith and the sister. And that's where I was first introduced to Steven. And obviously we hit it off. I mean, I'm a very likable person. And plus Steven was new. He was a cool kid. I mean, he was a year younger than us, but he's about a year and a half younger than us. So we would hang out. I don't discriminate by age. But that's the thing, it's like all my memories with Steven, it's the day I met him, the day in the food court. That's literally it. Like, I can't remember any other impactful experiences that I had with this guy. And mind you, that's all when I was 15. I mean, the last time I saw him face to face, I was married. It might have been like 2017, 2016. I was with my wife, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, and our kids. And I think we brought the kids to the mall so we can do like pictures or something. I don't exactly remember what. But we saw Keith and his brother. We saw Keith and Steven. And my brother-in-law ran with a similar crew as Keith and Steven. So everybody knew each other. I hadn't seen Steven in fucking ages. So it was like a little bit uncomfortable and I didn't know really how to start. But I mean, we acknowledged each other. But that's literally, those are the 3 primary memories that I have with Steven. And I'm not saying that there's not more. Part of me kind of wishes he was still alive so I can ask him, like, Steven, how the fuck do we even know each other? Because all I remember is I'm meeting you at your mom's house when I was sleeping over with Keith. I remember the time in the mall. And I remember bumping into you with my ex-wife. What else have we done together? Is there something I'm not remembering? You see, this spot over here, I just pushed that button. Now everybody here is supposed to be fucking stopping. Now, realistically, I could have been a dickhead and just walked down the middle of the street. But I just wanted to see. Who was actually going to fucking stop. Obviously, nobody. Well, it took the 3rd car. Yeah, but I wish I could have asked Steven, just like, what am I not remembering about you and me? Like, what else did we do together? Or was that it? Hey, listen, I'm approaching this from the perspective of quality over quantity. But I remember thinking to myself, when he messaged me, hey, Buttercup, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, who the fuck is this motherfucker? But when I think about it, now that I'm a little more separated from the reintroduction, I mean, yeah, that was Steven. He didn't really give a fuck. But I remember a couple times when we were talking where I had a couple thoughts going through my head of what if I did end up going to hang out with him. And I remember, like, I was terrified because I'm thinking in my head, like, because I know how my life is, I know how I am. And unless you're me, I live in a world of delusion, mystical delusion. How you doing, mother? You know, it's like, I honestly and deeply, truly trust that I am the Jewish Messiah and that God created me to usher in the Messianic age. So now take that and try to rationalize why I would think it might not be the best idea for me to hang out with somebody that just doesn't give a fuck, less than I give a fuck. Because I started thinking in my head, like, this dude will fuck me up. And as challenging as it is for me to admit, even to myself, or at least out loud, because it's not like I haven't thought about this. It's not like I haven't thought about this. It's not like I haven't thought about this on my own, but more, it's more like it's challenging for me to admit in a situation where people might actually see it. But I was scared shitless. I'm scared shitless of Steven. When I found out he died, just fucking yesterday morning. When I found out he died, there was a sense of relief going, oh, all right. That's the only person living in the world who I believe could have the power to overpower me. Physically. And that's what I used to see, and that's why I used to try to like avoid him. It's because it's like, yo, this dude doesn't have good intentions. And it's not anything personal against Steven. It's just that I knew people like Steven throughout my entire life. Survivors. People who do what they gotta do to survive. And what I was envisioning in my head, this scenario playing out in my head, is that Steven would recognize me as a threat. Because, let's be honest, I am not shy about the fact that I believe that I'm better than everybody else. You know? I mean, that's a very generalized statement. Of course, there's nuances to it. Like, I'm no better than anybody who doesn't think that they're better than God. But back when Steven and I were still talking, and even when Steven was still alive, I mean, that was before you and I reconciled our differences, and at the same time, continuing forward, our online relationship was still carrying on during my time at trying to fully accept and recognize my Jewish status, which I do very much believe elevates me above people who believe certain things. Why? Because Stephen was a man of Christ. And he more than once, before he died, demonstrated gratitude to God. But now, was Stephen the type of person who put God in between him, or put Jesus in between him and God? I don't know. I really don't know. But you know what? I mean, I would actually argue that, based on all of the revelatory insights that have been manifesting themselves within my psyche over the past 24 hours, I would argue that he probably didn't. I don't believe he did. But as we were saying earlier, like, I could definitely see the influence that Jesus had on his life. Because what he demonstrated in front of me was exactly what Rabbi Jesus was preaching. Take the hit and then ask for seconds. Because you're the one that's not looking like the fool. And you know what? Just as devil's advocate, I know from the perspective of people who are closest to Stephen, they would probably think about that guy who did that thing. I mean, mind you, he would have fucked me up if I stood up. That's all right. I don't mind. I think Stephen and I both recognize the futility of attempting to stand up to this dude. Because not saying that age and size are a contributing factor, but had we attempted to fight back, it would have ended a lot worse for us. For both of us. Not just for me or for him, but for both of us. And I think I would argue that Stephen took the hits for me. Because that suck my dick attitude wasn't not how I was either. He had an easier time verbalizing it than I did. I'm slow. Like, it takes me some time before I can process things. Because even when that was happening, and the dude was kicking him in the face, both times, like, I was just kind of in shock. Just like, what the fuck? I'm a 15-year-old kid. I'm just watching my friend get his fucking face stomped in. By the server, by the cashier of Sombrero. And it's not, shit. And it's not, that I regret it. I don't think so. I don't think he regretted it either. I'm just kind of curious about how big of an impact that had on the rest of his life. Why didn't I ever bring it up to him? I don't know, because I was afraid to bring up that experience with him. Even when we talked on the phone, like, I never brought it up. And I wish I did. But there was a part of me that sensed that if I brought it up, he would take offense to it. Because obviously he had a sense of sentimentalism to him. So it just seemed to me at the time, especially in the state that he told me he was in, how his life was going and all that, like, it just kind of dawned on me, like, you know, it's probably not the best time to be fucking digging up old wounds like that. this fellow, he's still caught up on. He's still caught up on the shit that was going on. He's still caught up on the shit that happened in between there. Thank you, my love. But who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe bringing it up would have been exactly what he needed. But then again, my lord, if that's the way that things were supposed to play out, that's the way that things would have played out. But let's also take it from the consideration that you're showing me right now, is that if things played out any differently than the way that they had, then right now wouldn't be exactly what it is. And right now has to be what it is for the sake of what hasn't happened yet. Meaning, there's a whole other range of 25,000 years that follows right now, which is predicated on everything happening right now. Meaning, without right now, there won't be any future. And it just happens to be that my right now is the right now where we're recognizing that back. Because when we institute the line AB analysis, line AB, BA, point B is always that for the sake of which point A came into manifestation. Which, at the same time, comes into manifestation for the sake of point B. The catalyst of the effect is the cause, the purpose, the function of the effect is the catalyst for the cause that brings the effect into manifestation. So, I mean, the narrative playing in my head is that Stephen came back into my life to remind me of, to trigger me, to remind me of that situation, to remind me of that experience. Because I think up until that point, I hadn't thought about it that I can remember. Like, I don't have any particular points in my time where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Nah, it's just, I think up until he messaged me, hey, Buttercup, like, I don't think I thought about him since the last time I saw him. But as soon as he did, I got all the flashbacks from that experience. And I've kind of been sitting with that for these past couple years. Because we reconnected in 2021, at the end of 2021. Or maybe even 2022, for that matter. Because I know I was working at Boss, and I was out to dinner with my brother. I was out to dinner with my brother that night. I forget if that was the night we went out with Josie, or if that was the night we went out with Miss Kim. But I know we were at Piccalilli's in Atlantic City. And like I said, as soon as I saw his message, I had like this, oh fuck. This oh fuck feeling. Like, I'm not gonna be able to get rid of this dude. Not gonna be able to get rid of this troublemaker. And I was right. Because I had Steven with me on Facebook. I mean, Steven used to comment on my posts. I used to hate when he commented on my posts. I used to be so afraid. But Steven was also a huge inspiration for my posts because there was this fear, because I had a sense that he wouldn't have bought into anything that I recognize as objectionable truth. Not that he ever objected with me, but I know at least one time he questioned me to a point where I was like, fuck. I didn't like the question that he had. I don't remember exactly what the question was. But He made me question myself. But that was a good thing. At that time, a few years back, like, not many people knew this about me, but, and even still, not so much lately, but up until earlier this year, since 2018, I jump into atheist versus theist debate groups for the sake of getting triggered, for the sake of having to deal with people who are diametrically opposed to everything that I stand for. And the purpose for that is to take one on the cheek and then ask for seconds before asking for thirds. Because when you deal with atheists, those motherfuckers, they play dirty. They aren't there for debate. They're there to intellectually and emotionally wound you. I've gotten death threats and why don't you kill yourself from people in those groups. I love it. But the idea is that that's all predicated on is to, how do you say it? Is to fucking take it. Is to allow people to beat the shit out of you. And then as soon as they're done, stand up and give them a little something else to taste before they come and whoop your ass again. And maybe, you know what? Although I was doing this before Steven popped back into my life, you know what? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that when Steven was reintroduced back into my little timeline, that he inspired me to go even harder. Because, like I said, like Steven would comment on my posts, but that was the point. You know, for people to respond to it in an objective manner. And again, not that Steven objected to anything. All he did was he said something that made me question myself. Which wasn't a bad thing. That's a good thing. When people say, "Oh, you're making me question myself," that's a good thing. That's good. That's good. Because I'm not infallible. And God sends me His agents to help me remember that. But I remember this one time, you know, it was right after he and I talked, and I was thinking about the potential of meeting back up with him. Being introduced to his son, meeting his son, who I never met. I think his son's only a couple years older than my son. But at the same time, like I'm looking at, I see the pictures that Steven posts about him and his son. His son's an ox, bro. When God says, do not muzzle an ox while it's threshing, I see Steven's son. That kid looks like a fucking bulldozer. But so is Steven. I mean, I'm just a little guy. I don't work out. I don't do hard labor anymore. But you know, it's like, I remember seeing a vision or two where I was with him and his son, helping them heal what wound there was. And I don't know, maybe Steven's son wouldn't agree with what his father told me, but his dad told me, Steven told me, that his relationship with his son was shit. Because his son had absolutely no respect for him. Would hit him, would talk down on him. But then as time went on, I mean, Steven would post things on his Facebook page that would show the opposite, that him and his son actually had a pretty decent relationship, especially towards the end, when he was coming to graduate high school. Remember, there's this really lovely picture of him and his son and his son's girlfriend at Seaside, and they're all giving a finger to the camera. And I thought, you know what? That's very Steven. That's all Steven right there. I can see it. But again, like this brings me back to this point. Like, thank you, Hashem. Like I'm coming back to this point. Like, yeah, but I only have like literally 3 memories with this dude over the course. 38, 15 to 38, 15 to 35, 15 to 43. No, I'm 44. I'll be 45 in a couple weeks. No, but this relationship that I had with this guy, I only have 3 memories of us being in the same room at the same time, in the same place at the same time. Unless, my Lord, unless, like I was saying before, Steven's influence on my experience is simply to exemplify the fact that quality stands over quantity. Because when I think back of all my other friends, during my teenage years, I mean, I have memories, but I don't have anything like that with Steven. Like with Steven, you know what I mean? In the sense that, like I remember this one New Year's Eve, right after my son was born. So this had to be 2008, New Year's Eve 2008. My son's mother was throwing a party at our apartment, and my friend, my best friend at the time, we went outside for a cigarette. I remember chain smoking. And it had to be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning at that point. Maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There was these fucking kids, like little kids. I don't think they could have been older than 10, 12 maybe, but they're fucking with sticks are banging on the light poles. And I live in an apartment complex, and it's like, all right, come on. Get the fuck out of here. Do this shit somewhere else. So I yelled over at them. I'm like, yo, cut that shit out or I'll come over there and whoop your ass. So they left, they stopped. But they went home, they told their dad. And the dad got a couple of his friends and they came over to where my friend and I were. Because we had still been outside. We were outside for long enough for those kids to go back to the apartment that they were at, grab their dads, and then come back to where we were. So the fucking dude, there was 5 of them. There was 1 Peruvian, 2 Puerto Ricans, 2 blacks, 2 Negros. And I remember thinking in my head that they were probably coming for the girl that lived upstairs from us, because she was a whore. So, just to make myself laugh, I was like, oh, what's her face? She ain't home right now. But they kept on walking. I'm like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? I see this little dude, not lit, I mean, he was about my size, but a little more worked out. And a little tear tattooed under his eye. It's really cute. And he comes up, he's like, yo, who's fucking threatening my kids? And at the time, mind you, I'm fucking drunk as hell. I'm not entirely sure what he's talking about. Because about maybe 10, 15 minutes had gone by, maybe a little bit longer, and it didn't register. So I kind of was like, I don't know, what the fuck are you talking about? So he turned to my friend, he's like, you the one that fucking hit my kid? You the one who said you were gonna hit my kids? So that guy, the guy with the cute tattoo, and his friend, they corner my boy. who at the time, I mean, at that point I should have known better. Well, no, it's not that I should have known better. It's just, this guy, you don't want this guy in a fight. Because he'll sit there and watch you get your ass whooped. Which is fine. Which is fine. I mean, he had. I was getting my ass whooped one night, and I saw him there watching. And then some dude who I didn't even know, that we just happened to know mutually, came up to whoop my ass, but recognized me as part of the crew that his crew were crew with. You know what I mean? We weren't the same crew necessarily, but our crews were one crew. But this night, on New Year's Eve, wasn't the case. So they got my boy, like, in the corner, like, grilling him. And this was all really fast. It was all really quick. But I saw him. They fucking shoved his ass right into the door. They shoved him right into my door. And he fucking fell over. He fell over himself. It made enough of an impact that my son's mother and his wife, they heard the bang on the door. We had a bunch of people over that night too. But they heard the bang, and they went to open the door up. I remember they opened the door up, and his fat ass fucking fell, because he was kind of sitting up against the door, up against my door. And when they opened it, he fell backwards. But after they pushed him down, that's when I had to fucking step in. It was like, yo, get your fucking hands off of him, because now, like, I'm watching all this stuff, and the memories are kind of flooding back, and I'm remembering, oh, fuck. Right. I'm the one who did it. So I said, I was like, get the fuck off of him. I'm the one who fucking said the thing to the kids. I said, here's what happened. And I started to explain myself, and this dude gets right up in my face. And I'm trying to fucking explain it to him, and then out of nowhere, I felt my head just fucking cocked to the side. And I'm like, I thought it tasted blood in my mouth. I'm like, what? Wait a second. I'm like, yo, did you fucking hit me? I went right there. I got the blood. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I was like, this is how you motherfuckers want to play. Meanwhile, there's 5 of these fucking idiots. I got this dum-dum on the ground, falling into my fucking foyer, the foyer of my apartment, if you call it that. Alright. Well, I have a fucking 6'5" redneck racist who prays for shit like this. Hold up, I'm gonna go get him. You want to fucking hit like a fucking child. So as I was walking, I heard the fucking black dude, yo, you being a fucking pussy? You're gonna get the big guy, huh? You're gonna get the big guy. And I remember thinking in my head, don't turn around. Don't give these motherfuckers the opportunity to think that you're afraid of them. Fuck them. This motherfucker's gonna be a pussy like that? Alright. So I walked to the end of the building, and my friend, I mean, we were all pretty close. So I just opened up his door. I was like, yo, Mike, Puerto Rican punched me in the face. All right, let's go. And this fucking giant. I hear these motherfuckers talking all that shit as I'm walking to his apartment. Oh, you're gonna get the big guy, huh? As soon as he turns, as soon as he comes out of his door, whoa, we don't want no problems. We don't want no trouble. Yeah, no shit. Everyone runs out of shit to say once they see that they're about to get their ass whooped. And it's not like I brought the dude out there to fight anybody. It was more like, yo, you motherfuckers, you're acting reckless. I gotta bring my white nigga out to serve as the fucking regulator to make sure you fucking idiots don't act up. So the little guy with the cute tattoo, the one with the kids, he stretched his neck over my friend's side. And I'm trying to explain to him, like, yo, shut the fuck up, man. Like, chill the fuck out. I said, if it makes that big of a difference, I'm sorry. All right? I'm sorry. Now, who wants to come in for a drink? And believe it or not, the Peruvian guy did stay for a drink. He did come in. He actually tucked me into bed, too. The two blacks, the two negras, and the two Puerto Ricans, they left. But the Peruvian dude that they were with, I kind of knew him. My son's mother and I, we knew him in the sense that he lived up in the front. We knew where he lived because he always used to hang out by his car. So we would always drive by and see the dude hanging out there. But he took up the offer. He came in. We had some drinks. I got blacked out drunk. And he actually found me passed out in my bathroom and was kind enough to pick me up and put me into bed. Because clearly I was inebriated and could not do so on my own. So that was pretty cool. Was I really sorry? I mean, no. No, because I wasn't actually gonna hit the kids. It was an empty threat. And mind you, listen, my empty threat had physical consequences. I got fucking clipped in the face by it. But it's not the first or last time I'm gonna get hit in the face in my life. You know what I mean? When I drink, it's not common. But in the second half of my life, when I get hit in the face by someone who isn't me, it trends that accostation is predicated on the fact that I'm drinking heavily. Because when I drink, I don't give a fuck. I have a lot of stress and anxiety, depression, and all manner of types of shit going on inside of me. Psychosis, delusional thinking, paranoid schizophrenia. I talk to fucking God, my Lord. Is this not textbook schizophrenia right now? I believe that I'm talking to you and I believe that you're responding. You hit the nail on the head. Thank you, my Lord. So it's not like it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not completely ignorant. How about that? I'm not fucking 100% ignorant to it. So it's how many times have you been hit? I don't know. There. I mean, that New Year's Eve. I mean, when did we have Desmond christened? Because I got hit in the face a couple days before that too. But again, I was drinking, so I was in a mosh pit. It was for my wife's birthday. Right. So that happened after. Because I got piss-ass drunk. We were going to a Coffin Cat show. I got piss-ass drunk before we left. And then I jumped into a mosh pit. I jumped into the mosh pit, and I don't fucking know what happened. Like, I remember being in the mosh pit, and I remember my friend picking me up off the floor, going, yo, you got knocked the fuck out. I'm like, nigga, you're crazy. You're crazy. I don't remember any of that. What are you talking about? I got hit. How did I get up on the floor? Why is my head hurt? That's why in the pictures of my son's christening, I got these big ass sunglasses on. Not that I had a black eye. I didn't have a black eye. From the stories I heard, I bumped into this dude's girlfriend and he got pissed off. So he picked me up, slammed me on the ground, and started fucking pounding in my face. That's the story I was told. I like a good mosh pit. I used to like a good mosh pit. But I remember that night, I got fucked up really bad. Because whatever the hell he did, he knocked something loose in my head. Because I had this piercing, agonizing pain behind my one eyeball. And it was even worse the next morning. When I woke up the next morning, we had to go to the hospital. She had to take me to the hospital because I didn't know what the fuck happened. And when we went there, I told them, like, there was this pain in my eye. Like, literally, I couldn't open my eye. And I couldn't blink either because when it felt like there was a shard of metal. It felt like there was a shard of metal behind my eyelid. And every time I would blink, I would feel it just fucking ripping against my eyeball. I don't know. That wasn't what it was. They never found the source. Nobody ever found out what it was. But it was something that used to happen quite often. It happened 3 times over the course of several years, where I would wake up in the morning and my fucking eye, something behind my eyeball would scratch the cornea. Because what ended up happening was when the hospital, when they did an exam on my eye, what the doctor said, what the physician, whatever the fuck it's called, what the guy said, he goes, I'm looking at your cornea and it looks like someone took a rake and was just scraping at it. What the fuck did you do? I don't know. I got fucking hit. And I woke up like this. It wasn't like that last night. So part of my thought was maybe he fucking dislodged a piece of bone and the bone got caught. I don't fucking know. To this day, I have no idea what the fuck happened. But I was out of commission for a week. I had to go get my eye. I had to go to a fucking optometrist. I had to wear a fucking patch. Oh, it's fucking so cool. But it happened twice. And each time it happened, like the last time it happened was right as Grand Theft Auto 4 came out. So let that be like a time mark on like, okay, well, what was the time frame? Well, if you can tell me exactly what day Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, that was the day. Because I saw it as a miracle. I saw it as a miracle. No, that wasn't the last time it happened. The last time it happened was with Borderlands, when Borderlands first came out. That was after we moved out of the apartment. We were living in our condo, but that was a couple years later. Because I remember I picked up Borderlands after I left the optometrist who gave me the eye patch and the eye medicine. I couldn't go to work. Or I wouldn't go to work because, one, I can't open my eye. I gotta keep my eyes shut. Because one, every time I blink, it feels like a knife is being dragged against my eyeball. So no thank you. 2, I can't focus on anything. The light burns when I have my eye open. So not only was my eyeball fucking raked up like a Zen garden, the retina was hyper photosensitive. So fuck that shit. I'll be back at work when I can see again, which usually took about a week, about 5 days. But the timing was perfect with the release of Grand Theft Auto 4 because it's like that's all I wanted to do anyway. So, as opposed to going to work, why the fuck would I want to go there for? The only reason I'm going there is just for a paycheck. Oh, fucking slave. That's how I saw it. You know, I used to do tile with my father. After I graduated high school, I moved out of my mom's. The day that I graduated. I had my bag packed. My dad drove us back after the graduation ceremony. My father drove us back to the apartment because my mom left early. I grabbed my shit, said goodbye to everybody, got in the car and got the fuck out. That was that. And then I come back. And then I came back. I come back 20 years later. That was 1999. That was 1999. And then I moved back here in October 2018. The one fucking place I told God I was not willing to go. But thank you, my Lord. I love you too. God is good. Everything God does is good. Especially bringing me back to my mother's house, which is the one place I didn't want to go to. But, you know, the benefit of that, just like reconnecting with Steven, like I've been able to reconnect with my mother, and our relationship today is phenomenal. You know, I think the issue with my wife, with my ex-wife, was predominantly the fact that I had such a terrible relationship with my mother. I had a great relationship with my father. I can't necessarily tell you what kind of relationship my father had with me, but if I could do his thinking for him, I would say that it's not impossible that he almost lost hope that his little boy would grow up to be the fucking Antichrist. Because that was my father's dream for me. Can you believe that? I had the coolest fucking father ever. My father's dream for his son was for me to grow up to be the Antichrist. So I'm the type of Jew where I don't get offended. I'm not offended by the idea of Mashiach, of Melech HaMashiach, and the Antichrist being one and the same person. It doesn't bother me. I'm not one of those sensitive Jews that's like, oh, they're talking bad about us. No, fuck it, let them. That's not bad. That's a fucking honor. And one, Jesus was a fucking Jew, you idiot. You're talking about a non-Jew Antichrist. So the Antichrist can't be a Jew. And this is coming from fucking... Meanwhile, all this shit that I'm talking about is coming from the Gentile interpretation of Jewish prophecy. You people can't even do it the job right in the first place. That's why God chose us, not you. Never trust a Gentile to interpret Jewish writings. Ever. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't have the mind to understand. Do you understand? Moses said it himself. Eyes to see, ears to hear, and a mind to understand. Jesus only preaches 2 of the 3. So no, he's not greater than Moses. I don't know who the fuck came up with that nonsense. Or Rabbi Jesus was expecting the fucking nincompoops, the future nincompoops who read the New Testament to actually have read and have an understanding of the law before going, oh, we don't have to do that. Says who? Who told you don't have to do that? Who literally told you not to do, that you don't have to, that you're not obligated to do anything but the 10 Commandments? If you're not obligated, if you're obligated to the 10 Commandments, then why aren't you obligated to the other 603 that come after it? Who told you this? Because that's not what Jesus never said that shit. Jesus never once said anything about, hey, don't worry about it, you don't have to follow the rules anymore. What are you talking about? That's never said. I think the only ones who say that, it was Paul, a Jew, And where in the Bible does it give anyone, Jew or non-Jew, to recruit? Ay, caramba. You know, it's like, there was a long time. There was a long time in human history where the majority of people weren't allowed to read. You know why people aren't supposed to read? Why it was reserved for the upper classes? This is a fact. The reason that reading, and it wasn't to disempower you. That wasn't it. You're a fucking dog. God created you to be an animal. You're one step above an animal. You're not even that. The majority of humanity still hasn't learned how to walk upright yet. Do you know that? We talk about I have to walk upright every single day. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. We have still, I don't think things have changed at all, but we have probably the most corrupted, wicked, ungodly society. I was going to say since the dawn of man, but no, it has never not been this way. I would argue that it might actually be worse than it's ever been before. Yes. Yes, the absolute worst. The worst that humanity has ever... We're at a point, I would argue, we're literally at the same point as the pre-flood antediluvian age. All those women and children, all those innocent people, there was nobody innocent. Holy shit. That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts about the flood. Is that we can actually sit there and luxuriate over the pain and suffering of all those people who deserved it. They weren't even fucking humans, they were animals. They were all expendable for the sake of for the sake of Noah's bloodline, which at the time was the purest of the bloodlines. Eugenics. Oh, fuck yeah. I'm absolutely an advocate for eugenics. Eugenics plays a huge role in the vision that I see for the future that God shows me. And, you know, whether or not people accept it or not, that's not the thing. I don't know what is and what isn't. But over the past 44 years, 44.9 years of my life, my Lord has demonstrated to me that everything that I had been seeing and hearing throughout my entire childhood, teenage, and adult life has all come to pass. So that being said, when he tells me that I'm the guy who gets to push the fucking buttons, I'm gonna push those fucking buttons with great joy and enthusiasm, just as it's commanded in his Torah. And the fuck is this? And if one of those buttons is eugenics, hey, listen, my father taught me that we have the best genetics. I know. I live it. I don't need someone to tell me that my coffee's good. You know what I mean? I'm the one that buys it, hypothetically speaking. My mother actually buys the coffee. But were I in charge of buying the coffee, I'd make sure that I have the gourmet expensive shit because I know what I like. But one of the compromises that we make as a servant of God is that we have to compromise for the greater good. That's why I don't have a house anymore. I lost my house, I lost my family. I lost my bank accounts. I got a new bank account with Republic Bank, or I'm sorry, Fulton. The bank formerly known as Republic. Got less than $1 in there. I've had less than $1 in that account for over a year. Not that there's no activity. Not that there's no activity. It's just that I try to maintain a balance of less than $1. A couple times I've had that's been disrupted. My sister has Venmo'd me $25 earlier this year. $57.85. In the last quarter. About halfway through the third quarter of 2024. I mean, mind you, I didn't have the money to retrieve that money for another couple months. You know how annoying that is? I had $25 in a Venmo. I had fucking $25 in a Venmo and I couldn't afford to take it out. And I told my sister that too. She blew it off. I was like, no, I don't have a Venmo, but I have a Cash App. She couldn't even give me another 25 for that. Oh. What's up, man? How you doing? We met the other day, yeah? Yep. What's your name?
George.
George.
Nice to meet you again. What's your name?
Derek.
Derek?
Yeah, man.
Nice to meet you, man.
Sit up. Where was I? That bitch, she couldn't even put the $25 in a Cash App for me. And hey, you know what? Fuck it. Whatever. I didn't starve. But at the same time, I also can't expect her little mind to understand exactly what it is that I'm doing, let alone understand what bitahon is. So it's just like, all right, whatever. My sister's one of those people, she's best loved from afar. At least at this point. Like, my sister is like my ex-wife and my son and my ex-wife's family. And my family on my son's side. All of them, they're best loved from a distance because they demonstrate more so that they want to see a side of me that I would prefer stays in their nightmares than has to manifest any more than it already has. And allow God to deal with them. And rain many abundant golden blessings upon them. We were writing about this last night, but I just taught in the Quran. It's better for you if you forgive all debts as charitable donations. And that includes blood debts as well. I forgive it. Do you know that the United States government charges more for taxes than Pharaoh did under Joseph? Pharaoh was only charging 20% on everyone, like a flat rate. Pharaoh had a flat tax of 20% that Joseph instituted. Now, mind you, this situation was a little bit different in the sense that, oh, let's remove all property. You don't own anything anymore. All right. Right. So well, Joseph was working with Pharaoh on how to create a perfected state, a perfected governing body, but also to lay the blueprints for the future too. That's a big part of it. So in the future, it's not so much like a cashless society as much as, how do you say it? You don't own anything. Nothing belongs to you because you don't. Just like your money, you ain't taking your money with you to the other side. The same goes for all your shit. The proper way to handle all that stuff, including debt, is all laid out in Torah and the Quran. So the Quran gets a little bit more into detail with inheritances. So for instance, the order, how do I say it? So the Torah lays down a really good blueprint. But the Quran actually gets into some of the details that aren't touched on in the Torah, such as percentage rates for inheritances. Like, if a woman dies, what percentage of her inheritance goes to the husband? What percentage goes to the children, to her parents? And the same thing with men too. See, the Quran is very big, and the Tanakh does as well. It's never stated that women need to stay home and do nothing with themselves. That's not it. Far from it. As a matter of fact, as laid out in Proverbs 31, the man is the scholar, the husband is the scholar, the wife is the business owner. She's the one running operations. She's the one with the business. And the husband is the one with the elders at the gate. A scholar. It's hot as hell. We're walking back home. Oh my God, I feel like a huge weight has been taken off my shoulders. And then, well, you know what? Another part of my inspiration that's been coming through, thank you Hashem, is Dune. Most specifically, I've made it to chapter 25. I'm on chapter 25 of God Emperor of Dune. And you know what? I knew I was going to love Dune. I just didn't know I was going to love Dune this much. And I know that's popular belief is that the book is like a social commentary on charismatic leaders and blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot more than that. I mean, maybe for little people, that's how it is. But when you have the potential to be a charismatic religious leader, how much more of a benefit would that book? How much more of a benefit would that book be? You feel me? That book series, because you're seeing the consequences of what happens in an empire that is not overseen by God. The reign of Leto II is the Antichrist, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, you see, he's not bad. He's not evil. The only people that see him as evil are evil people who want to do evil things. And that's going to be a contributing factor for the tyranny of Mashiach, because ungodly people are going to see godly people as evil because they want to do evil things, and we're taking away their ability to do that. God is, not us. What time is it? It's 2. See, I like the structure of Leto's empire, where it's one dude at the top. But at the same time, I love what he's doing with the women, with the fish speakers. I think that's fucking genius. Because it's during the great sharing where he lays out the secret to his success. He recognizes them as equals, which is why they fucking love him. And why he loves them. It's a mutual thing. He isn't being inauthentic. Quite the opposite. Yes, Grosvenor. Aye. But I like that idea of having a female army. Because, you know, women aren't like men. And men aren't like women. When women have a strong man that they're following, they could be ruthless as fuck. And they sure as fuck are not afraid to die. I would argue that like Leto the second, women don't play hide and seek with death. Not like men do. Oh, excuse me. And they're not driven by they aren't driven by their animalist nature like men are. What makes me different? I'm a fucking Torah scholar. That's what makes me different. God taught me how to be a man, not my father. Well, my father taught me how to be a man. Capital F. My father in heaven. My father and my father's fathers in heaven would link me back to God through Jacob and Abraham and Adam. And mind you, that's a framework that I'm coming from too. Modern science hasn't done a good job at convincing me that popular science opinion is more right than God. I'm not saying that there's not bits and pieces worth taking into consideration, but or even if we take the whole thing into consideration, you can merge it with God. It's just that people aren't into that idea. The secular world's not ready for that. Or maybe they are, they just don't want to. They want to pretend like they're not ready. Either that or older world leaders have been waiting for a motherfucker like me. A motherfucker like you. And what separates you from all the other motherfuckers? This. My God is the supreme sovereign of sovereigns, which makes me a sovereign, not sovereign citizen. That's shit. Constitution! The Constitution, I wipe my ass with the Constitution. That's not true. I think the Constitution is actually really important. It can be more Torah compliant. That's for certain. But technically we need to save that. No, the government isn't going to have a religious branch. That's against the Constitution. But there's a difference between religion and spirituality. And the spiritual nature of the Torah supersedes the religious nature of Torah. And again, like if I'm wrong about anything, you'll show me. I trust you, my Lord. I trust you to put me in my place. All right, Hashem. I kind of want to toss the cigarette. And turn the camera off. Yeah. That. All right. I'm gonna turn this off. This way I can just struggle the last couple blocks home. All right. I love you too.